Hello, 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 YouTube family. Thank you for coming on over and joining in. And those of you that are making your way in now, thank you so much for still being a part of this YouTube family that I have going. I know my hair is all over the place right now. I don't know what I need to do, but I don't have a lot of time. And I know that I have been dropping the ball because of so many other things going on in my life, which is not an excuse. But I'm here today, and we are going to go ahead and continue on with God Don't Like Ugly. I am not going to leave you guys without finishing this book. So what I'm going to do is go right ahead and jump right into chapter 9 and read on as far as I can before this break is over. Also, I would like you to go into the comments and let me know if there's other books that you'd like us to give a try or other videos that you'd like to see on this here channel. I will try to keep a wide variety of things that we talk about, things that we do. I'm so versatile. I don't have just beauty tips. I don't have just books. I don't just have just pranks. There's so much of me that I like to offer without having a million different YouTube channels. So if it doesn't hit with this one, then it just won't hit at all. You got it, guys? All right, hit that subscribe button. Whether you put the notification bell on or not, it really doesn't matter because I know you'd get all of the videos as they come to you. So right now, Mary Monroe, you see how I'm all over the place? Mary Monroe's God Don't Like Ugly, chapter 9. And I'm kind of sitting here because that's there behind me, okay? It wasn't long before I began to use gossip to my advantage. As soon as I heard something juicy, I told Mama and Mr. Boatwright. Some of the news I brought into the house was so good, Mr. Boatwright kept me in the kitchen repeating things over and over, so long that he canceled trips to my bedroom. Good gossip always mellowed Mama. When I couldn't pick up from the eavesdropping at church or peeping in one of Scary Mary's windows, I got from Pee-wee. Even though he was my so-called companion, he got on my nerves from time to time. One Sunday when Mama was home, Pee-wee wandered in and made himself comfortable at the kitchen table with Mama and me. Mr. Boatwright had gone to visit his foot doctor. Mama and I had the house to ourselves for a few hours before Pee-wee's invasion. Sister Goody, I just stopped by to see if Finesse going to pick beans in the morning. Boy, don't be trying to pick no shade tree for me. Brother Jones is picking me up at 8 a.m., Pee-wee said. I gave him a look as severe as the ones I gave to Mr. Boatwright. I can only imagine. Pee-wee wouldn't look at me, and I know why. I hated working on them farms, and he knew it. I preferred earning my spending money by running errands for Scary Mary and her women, not by working, doing hard labor. You feel me? I made a whole $1 yesterday, Pee-wee added. I was mad enough to just slap him. Well, now, Mama turned to me. Her look said it all. The next morning, I went to pick beans. That was my first and last day in the bean fields, thanks to Mr. Boatwright. A lot of mannish boys worked in the bean fields. Some of them had already fathered a baby or two. When old Mr. Jones stopped in front of our house to let me out at the end of the day, one of those boys slapped me on the butt as I was getting out of the car. Mr. Boatwright was on the front porch glider, sitting straight back and stone-faced, with his hands on his knees like a sphinx. He saw what that boy did to me and hopped in the house before I could get up on the front porch. Before I could get in the door, Mr. Boatwright had grabbed me by my arm and snatched me the rest of the way in. He was filled with rage. I honestly thought that he was going to kill me or at least make me wish I was dead. You fat, horny pig, he roared. He shoved me so hard I stumbled all the way across the room and hit the wall so hard a picture of Jesus fell to the floor. What? I cried. You heifer, you wench. I saw what was going on in that car. He waved his finger in my face. Get a switch. For what? I had done nothing that warranted a whooping. For what? What you mean for what? I seen what just happened, like you ain't got no shame at all. I didn't do anything. Robert fell on my butt. Get a switch. Mr. Boatwright mad at her because the little boy done showed some interest in her, because you know Mr. Boatwright feel like all of her little butt and booty that this boy is feeling on belongs to his old perverted self. Old pedophile. So now she have to get a switch because the little boys are managed and did something that they shouldn't be doing. But anyhow, while Mr. Boatwright was whooping me, we fell to the living room floor with him landing on top of me. Suddenly, he stopped swinging the switch. He gave me a thoughtful look, forced my legs open, snatched my panties down far enough, and satisfied himself with just one violent thrust. When Mama got home, Mr. Boatwright told her how I had flirted with the boy from the bean picking crew who had already made 2 other girls pregnant. You ain't going to pick beans no more, girl, Mama informed me. And see, here's the thing. We get so caught up. Let me put my marker right here. We get so caught up in what people tell us sometimes that we forget to listen to our kids. We forget to ask our kids, hey, what's going on in your life? What's been happening? And so they don't feel, these other adults sometimes, and even with tattling and not liking your child and wanting them to get in trouble, we get so caught up in, wanting our child to respect the adults that they don't be able to talk to us. They're not able to tell us when something is going on. So at what point is she able to tell her mama that Mr. Boatwright is doing a nasty with me every night? Mr. Boatwright then beat me to the conversation with my mama and told my mama that I got boys filling on me. The boy already got somebody pregnant. Now my mama saying I don't need to be going to the bean field no more. When in all actuality, the bean field with all them mannish ass boys is far more safe than home with the man that's supposed to be helping to care for you. But anyway, let's get back to the story. So Mama says, you ain't going to pick beans no more, girl, Mama informed me. There is too many boys in them fields. The fields is where I got myself ruined by that bean picking daddy of yours. And to look what he done to us. Make friends with some of them girls at the church or when you start your new school. Forget about boys. She probably like, I need a boyfriend, a man, somebody to take me away from this place. But anyway, back to the story. Yes, ma'am. I promised. I attempted to make friends with a couple of girls at my age at church, but failed. Mona Mac, who was thin and considered plain, kept reminding me I was overweight. You should always wear dark colors, girl, and stay away from stripes and plaids, she told me. I stored away all of my bright colored shirts and gave my striped and plaid outfits to a secondhand store. Ash Hat Shop got some new wigs, and you sure ought to get one to cover your head, Mona told me at another occasion. She enjoyed putting me down, especially in front of the other kids. When I realized that, I dropped her. Being friends with another girl, Francine Bryant, a plump, dark-skinned girl who was already wearing wigs, didn't work out either. She borrowed money from me that she never paid back. Mama gave me $1 every week, and I earned a lot by running errands for Scary Mary. But most of my spending money came from Mr. Boatwright, who was basically paying her to be his hoe. Almost every time after sex, he tossed me a few dollars. Though I'd resisted and avoided him as much as I possibly could, sadly, I approached him from time to time when I needed money. So at a young age, she learned how to be a whore. Once I even went to his room and sat on his bed. Mr. Boatwright, I want to go to the movies with Francine, but we need money for the bus and popcorn and stuff, I trembled. Mr. Boatwright was lying on his side, looking at me with a straight face. He didn't react until I stroked his arm. I see, he growled. He pulled $10 out of his pants pocket and handed it to me. Then he reached for me. The movie starts real soon, I said, raising from his bed. He sighed with exasperation, then waved me away with his hand. Once Francine and I got to the movies, she left me to go sit with some of her other friends. While I was in the bathroom stall, I overheard her tell another girl, Annette's so stupid. Watch me get a camera out of her for my birthday next month. So this girl called herself playing her out of whatever she wanted for her. Francine's words crushed me. I never told her what I overheard, but I broke it off. I broke off the friendship immediately. You'll meet other girls when school starts this September, Mama told me when I told her about Mona and Francine. I hope so, Mama, I replied. I still spoke to Mona and Francine when I saw them at church, but turned down their invitations to go swimming or to the movies. When Francine sent me an invitation to attend her birthday party, I declined it immediately. I was lonely and had low self-esteem, but I did have some pride. I didn't need friends bad enough to put up with those two. I know that's right, girl. Let me just... Oh. The first time I saw Rhonda Nelson, the uppity Undertaker's only daughter, my heart almost stopped beating. A week before school started, Pee-wee and I were sitting on my front porch steps when this long black airport limousine crawled around the corner and stopped in front of the Undertaker's house. The driver got out and ran to open one of the back doors. Uh-oh, Pee-wee started. I knew this was going to be something good from his reaction. He stood up and placed his hands on his hips. Rhonda slid out and stretched. Where you been, Miss Hollywood? You up again, I bet, Pee-wee hollered in his sweetest voice. The girl smiled and waved. Just the Bahamas, she replied casually. I stood up and shaded my eyes to see her better. Pee-wee, who is that girl? I mouthed before he could answer. The girl beckoned for us to join her. I followed Pee-wee across the street as she tipped the driver. I couldn't believe my eyes. She was the prettiest black girl I had ever seen in my life. She was dark like me. She was really slim and had a rope of thick black hair that almost reached her waist. Lord, let that hair be a wig, I said under my breath. The most striking thing about her was her eyes. They were huge and bright green. She had a heart-shaped face, a small nose, full pouty lips, and teeth that looked too perfect to be real, though I knew they were. I thought you was down south for the summer visiting your white aunt, Pee-wee said to the girl. I was, but about 2 weeks ago, Aunt Lola got mad at her boyfriend and wanted to teach him a lesson. While he was at work, we sneaked to the Bahamas and stayed until it was time for me to come back home, Rhonda replied. Pee-wee looked at me and said, Miss Thing here went to Paris last summer. Paris, France, I guess. The girl was so intimidating, I could feel knots forming in my stomach. Ooh, woo! Pee-wee laughed, snapping his fingers. I'm Rhonda, Miss Thing said warmly. She smiled at me and extended her small hand. She had long, slender fingers with neatly polished and manicured nails. Compared to hers, mine's looked like monkey's paws. I'm Annette. We moved to this street in June, I croaked. Rhonda had a blue silk dress, matching pumps, and was carrying a baby blue leather shoulder bag. The dull brown thrift shop flannel smock I had on had taken on a life of its own. No matter how hard I cleaned and pressed it, it curled up at the hem and changed colors every time I washed it. I am going to stop there, and I promise you, you will get the continuation of chapter 9 tonight when work is over. Thank you all. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Love you all. Peace and blessings. Mwah. Hello, and just like that, we are back together again, back in the house. Thank you for coming back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you have not yet subscribed to my page, and then the notification bell if you would like to receive notifications every time a new video uploads, okay? If you are okay with the way things are, then leave them that way. Don't forget to comment down in the section below whether you like the video, you don't like the video, what you like about the video, or other things you'd like to see in future videos. Thank you so much. Let's go right ahead and crack open Mary Monroe's God Don't Like Ugly. Where did you live before, she asked me. Over by the city dump, Pee-wee volunteered, wiggling his nose. Oh, Rhonda said, moving back a step. Well, I hope you will like it over here, she smiled. What grade are you in? She tossed her hair back off her face. Oh, we all in the same grade. 8th, Pee-wee volunteered. Oh, good. After school starts, maybe the three of us can get together and study sometime, she suggested. Listen, I'm a little tired. Girl, as soon as you get settled in, I'll come over and give you all the lowdown on what's been happening. I got all kind of news, starting with that loudish white uncle of yours, Pee-wee cried, snapping his neck. Rhonda rolled her eyes and shook her head. I heard about poor Uncle Johnny and that dead woman. I'm sure he was drunk. I could tell that she was embarrassed. This white man I kept hearing about was her favorite relative, Pee-wee had told me. Well, I got a lot of juicy stuff to tell you, Pee-wee continued. I figured that, Rhonda grinned. I was just standing there, glued to my spot. She then gave me a serious look. It was nice meeting you, Nanette. Nanette. You being rude, you being funny, or what you doing? My name ain't no doggone Nanette. Annette, I corrected her. She excused herself and started walking towards her house. Mr. Nelson came out on the front porch with his arms stretched out to greet Rhonda. He noticed Pee-wee and me and waved to us. Pee-wee and I returned to my porch steps, where he spent the next 2 hours giving me all the details on Rhonda. That gorgeous mane on her head was her real hair. Other than Pee-wee, she had no close friends. She and her family belonged to the same church Mama, Mr. Boatwright, and I had joined since our move. We still attended Reverend Snipes' church occasionally, so Mr. Boatwright could continue singing his solos, but we were now members of the Second Baptist Church. Only because it was so much closer, Mama told Reverend Snipes. I was convinced it was a prestige thing. All the black folks with money attended Second Baptist Church on Patterson Street. Other than Pee-wee, she had very little to do with the rest of the kids. I had never seen anybody as fascinating as Rhonda Nelson, not even on TV. She was so intriguing, I found myself thinking about her in the next day while Mr. Boatwright was on top of me. Pretending that I was her made it a little easier for me to tolerate this beast without going crazy. So she's pretending that she's Rhonda while she's being molested by Mr. Boatwright to help the situation appear to or feel a little easier to deal with. It's just kind of psycho, but hey, whatever works. I couldn't understand why any man would want to take advantage of me with beauties like Rhonda roaming around. I believe that part of a pretty girl's burden was to have to put up with a lot of unwanted attention. All of my life, I'd watch men smile and wink at my pretty mother. Judge Lawson was spending more time than ever with Mama in our living room, with his hand rubbing her knee, saying things like, "The house all right, Gussie Mae? You need anything? I'll send my man over to cut the grass. Anything else you need done, let me know and I'll fix it." I couldn't tell if Mama really liked spending so much of her free time entertaining the judge. But she never discussed her actions with me, and I didn't ask. School started a week after Rhonda's return. I had not talked to her since we had met, but I'd seen her climbing out of cabs with big shopping bags almost every day. I spied on her from the largest window in my bedroom, my front window. When I could avoid that irritating Pee-wee, I waited until I saw Rhonda leave for school so that I could trail behind her. Her beauty was so overwhelming. I actually felt beautiful just being near her. "Oink, oink, morning, pig face," Mr. Boatwright greeted me one school day morning as I passed him on my way out of the door. "Same to you, butt breath," I yelled back. I sassed him from time to time when Mama or no other grown person was around. It usually got me a whooping from him, but it was worth it. He ran after me and grabbed me by my coat collar. Who you sassing? He released me, then stood up straight and looked me over critically, long and hard. He screwed up his face like he was in pain. Get out of my sight, he said tiredly. You more trouble than you worth. He dismissed me with a wave of his hand. I had started wearing ribbons in my hair like Rhonda and a little makeup. This particular day, I had even put on some pierced earrings that one of Scary Mary's women had given to me. Mr. Boatwright looked at my hair, my face, and my ears and shook his head with pity. You know, one of them kind of, po baby. Well, she tried or whatever. What? I groaned. According to the scriptures, oh, never mind. I thought he was done talking, so I started to walk away. Makeup, earbobs, and all them hair frills. Don't you know by now you can't make a silk purse out of a soul's ear, let alone a whole soul? I don't know what I see in you, he sighed. You look so much better without that makeup and them ribbons, he said. Seriously. You think so? I said sadly, crushed and confused. I know so. You go back to that schoolhouse trying to be something you ain't. Them kids really going to let you have it. You follow the scriptures. You'll be all right. You know the Bible almost as well as I do by now. So I know you ain't forgot that lesson about Lot's wife. He gave me an affectionate pat on my head and turned and walked away. I dragged myself back to my room and snatched the ribbons from my hair and kicked them halfway across the room. But before I could remove the makeup, Mr. Boatwright was in my room with a familiar look on his face. That's much better, he grinned as he unzipped his pants. Mr. Boatwright, I'm on my period, I lied. He rushed out of the room, cussing under his breath. It took me a while to get my hair under control. Rhonda was long gone by then, and it ruined my day. I was late for a class and had to do detention after school. When I got home, Mr. Boatwright gave me a whooping for getting detention. Once my whooping wore off, I went to sit on the front porch. Rhonda was on hers reading. She looked up and waved, then returned her attention to her reading material. Pee-wee told me that she was one of the smartest girls in the whole school. She had taught herself how to speak Spanish. She played the piano and knew a lot of grown-up card games that her Aunt Lola had taught her. Pee-wee told me a lot of the kids were afraid of Rhonda, as petite as she was. There were several reasons. She had a ferocious big brother named Jock, who was the leader of the street gang. Terrorizing other kids was a way of life for him. He had even beaten up Pee-wee a few times. Another reason a lot of the kids feared Rhonda was because she had a crazy grandmother living in the house, a white woman. I hadn't seen her yet, but I had heard that she chased cars up and down the street and threw rocks at people and called black folks niggers. Still, another reason kids were afraid of Rhonda was a policeman had shot and killed her brother while Rhonda was in the bedroom one night when she was 6, and she had never gotten over it. Everybody said it made her act crazy sometimes. And finally, her daddy was the undertaker. To a lot of kids, undertakers and boogeymen were interchangeable. Nobody wanted the boogeyman's daughter as a friend.